Tell Me the Truth by Jay Wilburn. Dizzy stormed through the halls and floors of the Time Travel Academy. That was a lot of storming because the school was a mile wide, a mile long, and a mile high. By the time Dizzy found Meow, one of her friends from here in 2225, or 2225, 200 years in the future from her own time, she was tired of storming. She just had to walk up to Meow and grab her by the arm. "What are you doing?" Meow demanded as Dizzy pulled her away from the group of girls. Dizzy called over her shoulder and said, "We'll be right back." It turned out that was far from the truth. Meow tried to pull her arm away, but Dizzy kept moving her along. "Have you gone crazy from all the time traveling?" "I need you to tell me the truth." Meow just stared. Dizzy held up a folded piece of paper. It had dirt smeared on it that looked a bit like red clay. "Maybe I'm going crazy because I keep finding these notes in my pocket that tell me things about the missions that no one should know yet." Meow reached for the dirty paper, but Dizzy pulled her hand back to keep Meow from taking it. "Put that away before someone sees it, Dizzy." "So it is you. How do you know what's going to happen before we did?" "I didn't say it was me. You recognized the note, and I compared it with your digital signature on other documents. I thought it matched, but now I know it was you. So tell me what's going on. Did the notes help?" Dizzy crinkled the note paper in her hand for a moment and then said, "Yes, but that's what bothers me. How could you know? There is no working time machine except the one we are using." "So how did you know that what was going to happen before we do?" "If the notes help, Dizzy, can we leave it at that?" Dizzy let go of Meow's arm but said, "No, I can't leave it. I'll have to tell the others if you can't explain this to me. You shouldn't do that." "Why, Meow? I'm not supposed to tell you." "Well, you need to right now." "Okay, but come up to my room because I'll probably have to prove it to you." They walked to the elevator and rode up several floors and walked to Meow's dorm room without talking. In a school that is a mile in every direction, that is a lot of time. As quickly as Meow could close the door, Dizzy was throwing questions at her. Instead of answering, Meow turned on the 3D holographic projector over her computer. The image of an old decaying book spun in the air, lighting up the room. Dizzy said, Wait, is that the diary they found buried at the site of my old house?" Meow started to answer, but Dizzy cut her off. "Meow, you scanned it? None of us were supposed to read it. Is that how you know what's going to happen?" "Dizzy, I wouldn't have done it, but you..." "I what? Tell me." "I'm not supposed to." Meow barely spoke above a whisper. Dizzy took a step toward her friend and said, "You will tell me everything right now." Meow turned on a communicator on her wall and opened an outside line. "What are you doing?" Dizzy asked. "Just hold on." Meow typed in a few things. When someone picked up, Meow quickly said, "Don't say anything. I'm not alone. I have a big problem I don't know how to solve." A voice on the other end, one belonging to a woman, responded, "Is Dizzy from the past there?" "Who is that?" Dizzy demanded. "She is," Meow said. "She figured out that I was writing the note. She won't let it go." The person on the other end laughed and said, "Yeah, I remember that." "You're right, I won't let it go. Who is this?" Dizzy pushed Meow aside and walked up to the communicator. The woman on the other end said, "I'm you, Dizzy. I'm sending a card to the side door I used last time, Meow. You two get in and come see me. I'll have you back before anyone really misses you." The communicator turned off. Dizzy turned to Meow and asked, "What did she mean when she said she was me?" Meow shrugged and said, "You'll see." The transport flew Meow and Dizzy away from the tall walls of the Time Travel Academy. Dizzy asked lots of questions, but Meow gave very vague answers in return. Dizzy occupied herself watching the cities and superstructures whip by outside. There was still a lot of green space between neighborhoods and cities, but the year 2225 had a lot of changes from 200 years in the past, where Dizzy came from and hoped to return to permanently one day. She was nervous about this trip, but she rarely got to see the outside world in this year, so she tried to enjoy that. Very soon, they left the structures behind and moved through and above mostly forest. A misty shoreline rose into view along with a lighthouse that looked like it came from Dizzy's time, or even earlier, standing out on a spit of rock from the edge of the sand. The transport turned south and blew sand into the air behind it. After traveling along the beach a short while, they reached a harbor where tall trees grew right up to the edge of the water. The leaves were changing colors. I got a typo there, so I might as well fix that. The leaves were changing colors. Dizzy guessed that meant it was fall, maybe getting close to winter already. The transport ripped across the quiet water toward a wooden house that sat among the trees on the water's edge. The transport came to rest beside a short dock, and the doors opened on that side. Dizzy looked to Meow. What now? What now? I don't know. I've never been here before. Well, whoever this is, she's your friend. Meow stared a moment and said, I think you're my friend too, aren't you, Dizzy? Dizzy swallowed a few times and took Meow's hand. We are friends. I've been upset because I didn't understand what was going on. Then let's go find out. They stepped out of the transport, crossed the dock, and came to the glass doors along the bottom floor. There was furniture inside, but the room looked dark. Dizzy knocked on the glass, but no one answered. Meow said, let's go around to the other side. They climbed up a slope into the grassy side yard among the thicker trees of the forest. There they saw a picnic table with place settings, food, and flowers. An old woman sat there like she was waiting for them. Meow and Dizzy approached together. It's good to see you both again, the old woman said as she poured syrup over a big pile of pancakes in front of her. Who are you? Dizzy asked. Already told you, dear, the woman said. Well, tell me again. The old woman met eyes with young Dizzy and said plainly, I'm Dizzy Villahera. I'm over 200 years old. Dizzy asked how. Older Dizzy just sort of laughed as she motioned toward two other chairs with pancakes in front of them. I just sort of kept on living. I was having way too much fun to stop. Join me for breakfast. It's almost lunchtime, young Dizzy said. Older Dizzy shrugged and said, maybe over on the East Coast, but it is still morning here. Come on, you'll really like these pancakes. Dizzy sat down and accepted a pitcher of warm syrup from the old woman's hands. Even as she poured, she asked, how do you know I'll like them? I'm not much for pancakes. Older Dizzy chuckled and answered with a bite of food in her mouth. I know because I remember loving them when I was you and I had this conversation the first time. Young Dizzy just stared as the older version of her went on eating. Meow held up the pancake and let it flop back on her plate. My mom makes pancakes, but they're nothing like this. Young Dizzy was thinking these looked normal to her when older Dizzy said, this is how we used to make them and they are better this way. Young Dizzy started cutting up her stack of pancakes as Meow took a biscuit and spread peach jam on it. There was fresh fruit on the table too, and both Dizzies ate some of that. Dizzy didn't like it when her friends from the future made fun of food from her time, so she started eating the pancakes mostly to show Meow she was wrong. When the Dizzies met eyes again, older Dizzy winked. You love them, don't you? Young Dizzy swallowed before she spoke. I really do. Told you. Young Dizzy asked, when did I start liking pancakes? Older Dizzy smiled and shrugged her thin shoulders before she answered, I guess that would be today. So you really are from the future. I really am, dear, but from my perspective, this is the present, and you are me from way in the past. So Dizzy looked at Meow in the back of the old woman. You've been sending me messages through Meow using that diary. Pretty much, yes. Why? The old woman took a deep breath and said, partly because that is what happened the first time, partly because there is more going on than everyone knows yet. Tell me, young Dizzy said between bites. Older Dizzy went on eating her stack of pancakes. Tell you what you need. I tell you what you need when you need it. Any more might make things worse. Young Dizzy scooted back from the table a little. I'm getting very tired of hearing that from everyone. I know, I remember. Tell me the truth, young Dizzy said. After a pause, she continued. Do we ever catch Dr. Cooper? Is this ever over? Older Dizzy paused but then smiled again. Of course we win. We wouldn't be here talking otherwise. Then why not just tell me now? Dizzy pulled up to the table and continued eating. Older Dizzy shook her head. I wish I could, but this is more dangerous than you imagine. Just because it worked out the first time doesn't mean things can't still be messed up. With time travel, anything can change at any time. I'm here to help, and make sure that doesn't happen. I've had a good life. You're going to have a good life, and I'm not going to let anything take that away from us. Young Dizzy stared unfocused into the surrounding forest. I'm glad to have friends even if one of them is just a really old version of me. Hey, older Dizzy said, I get enough of those old comments from Meow. I don't need it from you too. Young Dizzy looked at Meow and both girls started laughing. Older Dizzy joined in. The pancakes were gone before Dizzy realized it. Dizzy paused and ran her fork through the pooling syrup on her empty plate. Was it worth it? Older Dizzy hesitated and asked, "What do you mean by that? Was it worth everything you went through, everything I'm going through now, all the sacrifices, all the danger, all the lost time chasing him around through history when I'm supposed to be living a normal 8th grade life? Is it all worth it?" Older Dizzy swallowed twice and finally said, "All of it. I know you don't believe that now, because I remember not believing it either when I was you. But now I know it was true. Every bit of it mattered. It was all worth it, and I'm so glad to finally be able to tell you that." Young Dizzy took a few deep breaths and then wiped her eyes. "And my mom? What about her? She turns out okay?" "None of this hurts her. She'll be fine. Everything will be fine in time, Dizzy." My dad too. Him too. Everything works out fine. I'll make sure it does again." They talked about many things, but the old woman was careful not to reveal much about the future for young Dizzy. As they finally got up to leave, young Dizzy didn't want to go. "We'll be there for you," the old woman said. "Me, Meow, and everyone." Dizzy nodded as they crossed the dock and returned to the transport. The vehicle lifted off and raced back the way they had come. Both girls were quiet for a while. Finally, Meow said, "You want to know the truth?" Dizzy stared at her friend. "Tell me." Meow took a deep breath and said, "Those pancakes were fine, but the ones today are better. Not everything from the past is so great." Dizzy rolled her eyes, but she smiled as she did so.